Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Zevachim Daf Kuf Aleph. We begin on the second line of the top, Tanur Rabbanan. We have learned the following in a brisa, which will describe in great detail what occurred on that day, on that special day of celebration, the 8th day of the Miluyim, which happened to fall out on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the second year of the Midbar experience. It was when they inaugurated the Mishkan. This was the last and final day of that inauguration celebration, which happened to be Rosh Chodesh as well. And there were many korbanos brought on that day. And actually, it was a big tragedy that occurred on that day as well, when two of Aaron HaKohen's 4 sons died. Nadav Avihu died on that day, rendering them, his brothers and his father, into a state of oinen. They were oinenim, who typically are precluded from eating korbanos. And if you're just a plain kohen, as opposed to kohen gadol, a plain kohen may not do avodah when he's an oinen. And so it happens that they actually burnt. They decided to burn one of the korban chatas, the So'ir Rosh Chodesh. And Moshe Rabbeinu, upon encountering that scene, was perplexed. He says, "Why? Why'd you do this?" He challenged them, and Aaron HaKohen responded. There was this back and forth, until Moshe Rabbeinu actually conceded. With great humility, he says, you're right. You did the right thing. Now, what exactly occurred? What was the background behind the story? Tanur Rabbanan. So Moshe Rabbeinu was actually telling them after the tragedy, he says, eat the mincha. They had a mincha on that day. They had 3 korban chatas. They had a chatas called chatas hamiluyim, special for the Miluyim day. We had a chatas Rosh Chodesh, which is a typical standard recurring monthly chatas, not special to that day, but it happened to come out on that day as well because it was Rosh Chodesh. There was another soir, another goat, soir chatas, that was presented by Nachshon, the first of the 12 Nesiim that offered his korbanos. So there were a total of 3 goats, 3 korban chatas, only one of which was burnt. Tanur Rabbanan, Kichein tzuvesi. Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, eat the mincha, as I was commanded by Hashem, despite the fact that you're in a state of oinen. Today is different. Today's an exceptional day. Proceed without hesitation. And then he says, KosherT ube, as I have commanded you. And then he says, KosherT ube. What is this repetition about? Right? So, actually, the psukim, the way the Gemara brings it, is a bit out of order, but the point is that there was a repetition. KosherT ube Hashem explains the brisa. When he says KosherT ube, because this is how I was instructed, his message was they should eat the mincha despite being in a state of oinen. Later on, when he says KosherT ube, he was merely referring back. Why don't you eat it? KosherT ube, as I have already instructed you way back when you experienced that tragedy. B'shas masa, when it happened, Amar lahem. And when he says KosherT ube Hashem, his point was, I'm not making this up. This is by way of direct instruction from Hashem. Lo me'elai. It's not my own opinion on the Omer that I'm expressing to you. Now, clearly from this brisa we see that oinen was not an issue on that day. They could eat the korban despite being ramini bevakasha. Because in the following brisa, it says just the opposite. Actually, the chatas was burned because there was nobody to eat it, no customers, because they were oinenim. And that was expressed by Aaron HaKohen. He says, look what happened to me, Ka'ela, look what's going on here. And Moshe Rabbeinu responded with full acknowledgement. So here we see oinen was an issue. And earlier we indicate that oinen is not an issue. How do you work this out? Omar Shmuel, guess what? There are 2 opinions. There are 2 different ways to understand what happened and to explain why they burnt the korban. Loikash, Ha Rabbi Yehuda, Ha Rabbi Nechemia. The first brisa is Rabbi Yehuda speaking. No issue of oinen. Whereas Rabbi Nechemia says, yeah, actually, oinen was an issue. The Sanya, as we find in the following brisa, that explains why they burnt the So'ir Rosh Chodesh. Mipnei, because Aninus, because they were in a state of oinen. There were no customers. As indicated in the word Ka'ela. Whose opinion is that? Divrei Rabbi Nechemia, who says there was no heter to eat in a state of oinen. Okay, so his opinion is reflected in the second brisa. However, Rabbi Yehuda, Rab Shimon Omer, they disagree. Oinen was not an issue because there was, a special exception made on that day, and actually we played two ministrifah. The only reason why they burnt the carbon because it so happens to be that it got tummy, as we're going to see later. And in fact, we have three questions on you, Rabbi Nechemia. You're saying that they burnt it because of the aninus. Shima to Omer, because if you insist, mipnei aninus nisrfa, the reason for burning was due to aninus, so why suffice with only burning one? All three goats, all three carbon chatas should have been burnt. No customers. Question number 2, davar acher, hayu roi lo ichlon la'erev. Okay, forget about eating it today. But tonight, right? It's already the night after. They can eat it. Davar acher, third question to you. No customers? I understand the brothers and the father were oinen, but what about the uncle, Pinchas? He was an uncle. He was not an oinen. Davar acher, valei Pinchas hayeman. He was with them. He could have eaten the carbon. Okay, and actually the Gemara will respond to all three questions soon. In any case, we seem to have a contradiction. Brisa number 1 says oinen is not an issue. Brisa number 2 says it is. So according to this pshat of Shmuel, while Rabbi Yehuda holds that the first brisa, oinen was not an issue. In fact, they only burnt the carbon because it got tamei. Whereas according to Nechemia, the reason was because they were oinen. Rava Amar, he has another approach in resolving this apparent stira between the two brises. Idi, both brises are Rabbi Nechemia speaking. Well, like Kasha, the answer is like this. Even Rabbi Nechemia, who says oinen must keep back, but that is only with reference to an ordinary standard carbon, like the Sa'ir Rosh Chodesh, which was a regular standard recurring carbon, which so happened to fall out on that day as well. An oinen may not eat that. But Kachei Sha'ah, timely karbanis, special, celebratory karbanis, unique for that day, there was a special dispensation made for the oinen, and he could eat it. Kan b'Kachei Sha'ah, first brisa, which indicates that there's no issue with the oinen, that's on the Kachei Sha'ah only, the mincha, right? Kan b'Kachei Doros, second brisa, which indicates that the reason for burning was because of oinen. That's unique. That's specifically regarding the generational one, the Rosh Chodesh one. For that, there was no heter. Okay, so bottom line is, according to this approach, Rabbi Yehuda says no issue with oinen at all during that day, whereas Rabbi Nechemia says no issue for oinen only regarding Kachei Sha'ah. Okay, now let's take a step back and take a look at the psukim surrounding this episode in Parsha Shmini. We have the whole description of events, and Moshe Rabbeinu discovering the burnt carbon, wondering why it was burnt, confronting Aaron HaKohen with all kinds of questions, which triggered his response, and Moshe Rabbeinu's ultimate acknowledgement as an expression of his great humility, right? So we have different ways of understanding what happened. Because ultimately, according to Rabbi Nechemia, the reason why it was burnt was due to aninus. According to Rabbi Yehuda, due to tumah. Let's go through the play-by-play. Rabbi Nechemia, heichem metaretz lanikroi. How does Rabbi Nechemia interpret these psukim? And likewise, Rabbanon, the other opinions. Heichem metaretz lanikroi. How do they explain the psukim? Okay, first is Rabbi Nechemia. Metaretz lahochi explains the psukim like this. Moshe Rabbeinu approaches Aaron HaKohen. Madu alai chaltem. Why did you eat this carbon? Why did you burn it? Amar loi Moshe lar. So Moshe Rabbeinu right away proceeded to suggest many, reasons, possible reasons why you would have burnt it. He went down the checklist of deficiencies. Did this happen? No. Did that happen? No. He says, Shema nichnas dama lefnai lefnim. Perhaps it became deficient, became possible because its blood was inadvertently transferred into the heichal. Okay, perhaps the Kohen took it in there, unauthorized importation to do the kapara in there. Maybe that's why it became possible. Amar he says no. Aaron HaKohen says no, that didn't happen. No, actually the blood was not taken inside. Okay, next option, says Moshe Rabbeinu. Maybe it went the other direction, it went out of the confines of the Mishkan. Maybe that's why it became possible. Amar he says no, it was inside all the time. Third option, could it be that one of the sons were makriv the carbon, and they are ordinary kaihanim hedyotim, who cannot do it when they're einin. Maybe that's what happened. So Aaron HaKohen responds, no, Moshe, my brother Moshe, do you think they did the akrava, which would invalidate the carbon because they're einin? Ani grafti, I'm the Kohen Gadol, right? And the Kohen Gadol, as we know, was Aaron HaKohen was the one that brought the karbanos on that day. And the Kohen Gadol, even when he's an einin, is okay to do akrava. Okay, so he went through 3 possibilities. Check. So Moshe Rabbeinu now was wondering, so if none of these went wrong, so why did you burn it? He says, hey, who was the blood wasn't taken inside. And it was inside, not outside. It wasn't taken out of the. So then, the obvious question is, achal toichlu oisak asher tzivesi, you should have consumed it like I had told you. Baninus yechlo, it should be eaten even though you're an einin. Amar lo, Aaron HaKohen responds, you think, after I experienced this tragedy, it's appropriate for me to eat the chatas? I'm an einin. Sure, I can be makriv, but not eat. Hayita b'nei Hashem. You think this would find favor in the eyes of Hashem? I went on to explain. Perhaps when you heard from Hashem that an einin can consume, despite his aninos, that's only with respect to celebratory, timely karbanis, but not regular karbanis like the chatas of Rosh Chodesh that we burnt. Because with respect to, ordinary, recurring karbanis, that should be off limits for the einin to eat. Kal v'chayim, based on a kal v'chayim, mimaser hakal, from maser sheni, which is lighter than a karban, which is off limits to an einin. Certainly this. Uma maser hakal, even maser, which is lighter. Amar Torah says an einin may not eat it. Lo yichalti b'einin mimenu. Certainly b'kachay deris l'kosh, and certainly a karban which is higher. And that's why we couldn't eat it. And that's why it got burnt. Moshe Rabbeinu heard that, and he acknowledged. He conceded. Miyad, immediately, without hesitation, without trying to, cover for himself and excuse himself. And Vayishma Moshe heard this argument. Vayita be'einav. It found favor in his eyes, and he accepted it. Hoida. He immediately admitted and conceded. Instead of sort of covering for himself and, well, actually, interesting, I never heard this from Hashem, that's news. Right? He didn't try to cover for himself and, cover for his shame, so to speak. And Elo Amar, he says, Shamate v'shachachti. He acknowledged straightforward. He says, actually, you're right. Not only are you right, Hashem told us, I heard this from Hashem, and I forgot. Okay, so he expressed to Aaron that in fact he's not infallible, and totally acknowledged. So this was Reb Nechemi's approach. Moshe Rabbeinu suggested many reasons why it could have been, become possible. All of them did not actually happen. So what then is the reason? And ultimately he acknowledged Aaron HaKohen's response, which was that the einin, although it could eat kachay sha'ah, but not kachay dairos, and that's why they burned the Isar Rosh Chodesh. Okay, having crystallized the event based on Reb Nechemi's approach, now let's shift over to the other opinion. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, who learned that einin was not an issue. Actually, the reason why it was sreifa was because it was Tuma. How do they explain the psuk? This is the way they learn it. Once again, Moshe Rabbeinu approaches with a question. Why didn't you eat the chatzos? Why did you burn it? And he suggests some possibilities. Maybe it became possible for this reason, for that reason, for the other one. Perhaps the blood was transported into the heichal. No. So Aaron says no. No, it would never happen. Next question. Perhaps it left the Beis Hamikdash. That's why it became possible. No, it was always here. Third question. So perhaps the eininim offered the carbon and made it possible. He responds to his brother Moshe, my dear brother Moshe. You think they did the akrava, the sons? The possible aninus, where aninus would interfere. I, the Kohen Gadol, Aaron HaKohen had the status of Kohen Gadol. I did the akrava, which is okay even by an einin. Next question was, okay, Vidilma, perhaps agav miraraycho, perhaps due to your distress and bitterness, due to the tragedy, pashataba, you were negligent in guarding the carbon, v'tamoy, and that's why it became tamei, touched something impure. That would happen. Amrloi. Once again, Aaron responds, Moshe, my dear brother Moshe, that's how you regard me? You think I would have been any less careful because of my, distress? Is that how you view me? That I would be less than, respectful, less than careful regarding the Kachi Shemaim and cause it to become Tamei, and he expresses himself with feeling. He says, look, even if another one of these tragedies, Chas Shalom, would have occurred to me, I feel Eila v'ke'ela, right? That's why he says Ke'ela. Even another one like this and another one, I still would have held fast and stayed focused and guarded the karbanis. Impossible. That's not why. So now Moshe Rabbeinu was sort of stumped. He says, none of these things happened, so why did you burn it? And if it's so that Hein lo huvas dam, the dam was not taken inside, it was always here, never outside, so why don't you eat it? I already told you to eat. Baninus should be eaten even though you're an ein. Aaron responds, typically, as we learned yesterday, at least according to some opinions, the state of aninus extends into the night after the Yom HaMisa as well. But either way, that only applies in general situations. But over here, all agree that the aninus would end at the end of the day. They would have access to eating karbanos at night. So in response to Moshe Rabbeinu's question, why don't you eat it? He says, we have to wait till nighttime. Amar lo, he says, Shema lo shemata al balayla. Perhaps the halacha that you heard from Hashem to allow an einin to eat, that was only tonight. Because during daytime, certainly not. That could be learned from Maser Sheni, which is off limits to an einin. Uma Maser Akal, even Maser, which is a lower level kedusha. Amar Torah says, einin, hands off. Kodesh chamar l'kosh concerned karbanis. I couldn't eat it today. We had to wait till tonight. Miyad Moshe heard, and he acknowledged with great humility, great integrity. He wasn't embarrassed. He said, well, I didn't hear. Actually, he says, I heard and I forgot. Okay, so that explains why they couldn't eat it right away, but why they burn it? They should have left until tonight and eaten it then. Okay, they couldn't eat it now, but leave it around till tonight. Eat it at night. The answer to that is that unrelated to this whole, it became tummy. Tuma ba'oines basa. There was an accidentally it became tummy, not due to negligence. Some sort of lizard landed on it, became tummy. So ultimately, the reason why they burnt it was because it became tummy. Okay, so now that sums up both approaches to the sugya, to the chain of events. We know that there was a tragedy. We know there were many karbanos, only one of which was burnt. According to Rav Nechemia, the reason was because they were eininim. They could not eat the Sarash Chodesh. According to the other shittas, they could have eaten it tonight, but it happened to be that it became tummy. Now, certainly according to the second opinion, the Rabbanon, Hainu l'chsev hayom. That explains why Aaron responded with the word hayom. We couldn't eat it today. Certainly tonight, but not today. According to Nechemia, who says, look, it depends which korban. Koche Shah, those celebratory, timely karbanos, can be eaten even today. In contrast to the Koche Doires, the Rosh Chodesh one, could not be eaten even tonight. So, day, night is not really a defining factor here. So why do you even reference the word hayom? My hayom. Chayvaseh, he meant to say that the Isar Rosh Chodesh, which typically comes on a day like today, like Rosh Chodesh, that could not be eaten. That's what he meant to say. Because we're eininim. Okay. Later on in the pasuk, Aaron says, "Hey Nayim." Right? Beginning of the pasuk, "Hey Nayim Yikriv." Hey Nayim Yikriv. So again, according to Nechemia, it makes very much sense. The Hayim, right? The Chayvas Hayim, the Rosh Chodesh carbon, is what we're talking about, and that's the one I can't eat. Ella l'Rabbanan ma'yehin Hayim. According to the Rabbanan, why is he even referencing the fact that they were makriv today? What does it have to do with the conversation? According to Rabbanan, it wasn't that wasn't a factor whether it was this carbon or that carbon. It had nothing to do with the discussion. He meant to say like this. He was just explaining that the carbon did not become puzzle due to the fact that it was processed by an ein, that was tended to by an ein, by his sons. He meant to say like this. My heinayim. What does heinayim mean? Hachikam means heini krivu. You think they, the sons who were einim, were makar of the carbon, which would invalidate the carbon? No, hanik. They did it today when they were einim. No, hanik crafty. I did it. I was a kain gadol, which is unaffected. Who's unaffected by the einin state in terms of being makar, his ability to makar carbonates, and that's why it's still kosher. And then the conversation continued until the conclusion. Okay, so going to Nechemia, the reason for Sreifa was because of the aninos, which precluded their consumption of the carbon with no customers. It had to be burnt. To that, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon responded with 3 questions. A, burn all 3 carbonates. Why only 1? B, eat it tonight. 3, give it to Pinchas. Now the Gemara will provide answers to all 3 questions. Amar Mar. So earlier we had the question, burn them all 3? So first of all, which 3 are we talking about? Let's first get the facts straight. The Sani of Abraisa, the pasuk which describes Moshe Rabbeinu's wonderment. So he was wondering what happened to the Soir Achat. Why'd they burn it? We have the word Soir Hachatos Dorash twice. It's more than just one carbon that was happening then. So the word Soir is the Soir Nachshin. That's the Soir Chatos that Nachshin brought him. He was a Nasi. The word Chatas, Uchatas Shmini, that was a special Chatas for the 8th day Miluim. The 8th day of the Miluim, which was a public carbon, special for that day. Darash, that's the Soir Shel Rosh Chodesh. That's the recurring, ordinary Soir Rosh Chodesh, so a total of 3 Soir Chatas. Yochel Shloshtan Israel, perhaps all 3 were burnt. No, only 1 was. Tamleim Avinei Soiraf, he noticed one of them was burnt, only 1. Echad Nisraf, only 1 was burnt. V'loi Shloshtan Israel, but not all 3. The pasuk phrases it as Dorash Moshe. He was wondering. What's the double wonderment? He was wondering why this one was burnt, the other one was not burnt, right? Dorash. Shtei drishas lama. What's the double drisha? Double, inquiry. Amrlu. He had 2 questions simultaneously. He says, look, I noticed one burnt and the other one's not. Why was this one burnt? The other one was just sitting there and not being eaten. What's going on? Now we still don't know which one was burnt, which one of the 3. How do we know which one it was? When Moshe Rabbeinu continues and says, look, he should have eaten it. In fact, this chatas that you burnt, what a pity. It was an opportunity. It's meant to be mechaper, to atone for sins. Now, which one is that? Which soir chatas plays that role? Havi Omer is a soir shel Rosh Chodesh. That's the one of Rosh Chodesh, which Rashi brings based on the Gemara Shvois. It's mechaper and specific averis. Okay, so we know there were 3, and only 1 was burnt. And back to the question, why only 1 was burnt? Shapik ka'amrlei. It appears that their argument is valid. According to Rabbi Nechemia, the Sreifa was because they were einin, burn all 3? Oh, the answer is he makes that distinction, he draws that line. An einin may not eat recurring karbanis, but certainly he agrees there was special dispensation for them to eat those special daily, unique, celebratory karbanis, a timely karbanis. Ramachem follows his opinion. The Amar who says, Aninos did not interfere with the special timely karbanis. Hence, the only one burnt was the Rosh Chodesh. Next question was, Amar Mar, they should eat it tonight. After the Aninos expires. No, Shaper Kamerli. It appears like a good argument. The answer is Kasabri, he holds Aninos la deraisa. He holds there was no heter to eat it tonight. The Aninos spreads, extends into the night. So that's it. There was no way to eat the carbon. The third question was, what about Pinchas, the uncle who was there? They could have given it to him to eat. No, Shabbos Karmeli, it seems like their argument is valid. The answer is Savlak Rabbi Lazar. Ramachem holds like Rabbi Lazar, who holds that Pinchas was not yet given that status. Eventually he was, when he killed Zimri, took a stand to protect Yiddishkeit, but until that point he was not a Kohen. Don Rabbi Lazar, Amar Chanina, Lo Niskai Pinchas, Achahargil Zimri. Pinchas did not become a Kohen until he killed Zimri, as it says, only then did he become a Kohen. Rav Ashi actually was much later in history. It was in Sefer Yeshua. There was a story there with the Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuben who settled across the Jordan. They felt distance from the Beis Hamikdash, so they made their own altar. And Klal Yisrael, upon hearing that, got very nervous that they were deviating, and perhaps so they were going to challenge them and wage war with them, and Pinchas, they said, well, hold it. They sent a delegation, and Pinchas went to hear them out, and he came back with good news that their heart is totally dedicated to Hashem. It was just a way to connect to Hashem, and they have good intentions. So he restored the peace between the tribes, and then he was zoicha to be a kohen. Rashi Yoma Acher Sam Shalom ben Ashvatim. He became a kohen when that happened, when he restored peace. Shanamar Vayishma Pinchas HaKohen. Here the pasuk relates to him as a kohen. The first time Pinchas HaKohen, to indicate that he became a kohen at that point, when the Siyah Eda and the leaders of Rosh Alpha Yisrael. Interestingly, Taisus points out that he really should have been a kohen from way back in the time of Zimri, but he says perhaps they didn't. It took a while. He says, perhaps they weren't all agreeable. Klal Yisrael wasn't really agreeable to make him a kohen because he killed the Nasi, the Shevet, Zimri, until he sort of restored his standing amongst Klal Yisrael when he acted as a successful ambassador in restoring the peace and bringing back. So then they were all agreeable to sort of give him that status. Very interesting thesis. Okay, in any case, we have two psukim that he become a kohen during the time of Zimri, or later on in Yeshua's time. Now, what does the second opinion say that says it only happens later? What does he do with the pasuk back in Zimri's time? Indicates that he became a kohen. That's only a blessing, meaning he was given a bracha, and sort of that in the future you'll be a kohen, which only happened later. So the process started then, but it culminated later on. The opinion that maintains that it happened earlier. What about the pasuk later? It says Pinchas HaKohen. Certainly he himself became a kohen earlier, but it means to say that due to the restoration of peace that he facilitated, he was zeicha that now his descendants will become kohanim gedolim. In fact, Rashi brings throughout history, the Kohanim Gedolim were only from Pinchas's progeny. Continues the Gemara with another anecdote. Amar Rav, Moshe Rabbeinu Kohen Gadol Haya. Although Moshe Rabbeinu was really a Levi, his brother Aaron became the Kohen, but during the Miluim, he served as a Kohen Gadol, and as we're going to see later, it was a lifetime appointment. He was a Kohen Gadol. He was on that status. In fact, he would take a portion from the karbanos, even the kachei kachim, like any other kohen. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, by the miluim, me'el ha-miluim l'moshe l'mana. He had a portion of the me'el ha-miluim, which is kachei kachim. Meisvei comes a kash. You see, a minute ago, we had a question. Why burn the carbon? Give it to Pinchas, who was a kohen and available. Now, why focus on Pinchas, which seems to be a whole... According to Moshe Rabbeinu was a kohen gadol, so give it to him. Meisvei, the kasha was, right? Here comes a kasha from that brayso. We had a question, give it to Pinchas, who was there? V'misa, now, what you're saying is correct. Lema, Moshe Rabbeinu, Hayeman. Instead, he could have asked, give it to Moshe to eat it. Answers the Gemara, maybe he wasn't really available to eat. He was busy learning with Hashem all the time. Dilma, Shani, Moshe. The third, B'Shechina, perhaps Moshe is not really relevant here because he had no time to eat karbanis. He was busy learning with the Shechina. The Ramaz, it says, he was up and down the mountain, always busy with Hashem. Moshe, Bashkama Allah, Bashkama Yar, this was by Har Sinai. He went up early, came down early. Okay, that's why we picked Pinchas, although technically Moshe Rabbeinu was a Kohen. Basically, it comes a kash. Moshe Rabbeinu was a Kohen. The pasuk here, Lechem alekov min mikachei hakadoshim umin hakadoshim yoichal, is teaching that even a balmum, a blemished Kohen, although he can't really serve, but he's entitled to a portion of the karbanis, no matter what. Kachei hakadoshim, the highest level, or min hakachim, the lower level, yoichal. Why mention both? What's the point? Just mention one, and you'll know that he can eat everything. In Nemru kachei hakadoshim, once we go with the higher one, Lomer nem kachim kal, why speak about the lower one? If you speak about the lower one, why go back? Why do we have to mention both? The answer is because if only one is mentioned, you wouldn't know the other one. As follows: Ilu loy nemru kachim kal. If we only speak about the higher and not the lower one, perhaps I can speculate and say kachei kadashim hudayich. Perhaps there's reason why the balmum is entitled to kachei kadashim, because Sharei Huchu Lazar, we find throughout history that exception was made to give kachei kachim even to a zar, a non-kohen. And the Gemara assumes at this point it's Moshe Rabbeinu during the Miluim. That's how the Brisa seems to, right? And therefore it's allowed for the balmum as well, as opposed to kachim kalam. But we don't find any exception. Rashi explains that the kachim kalam they're talking about is the chaz of a sheikh, the certain parts of the shlomim, which typically goes to a kohen. You don't find it shared with a zar. Lo yachal, so perhaps the balmum as well does not have access to that. That's why we mentioned kachim kalam as well. Yeah, he does. On the other end, if we only speak about the lower one, not the higher one, I would say the kachim kalam ya'ich. There's a reason why the balmum is given kachim kalam shem kalam, because after all, they're of a lower level. But the kachim kadashim, which is a higher level, lo ya'ich, perhaps he doesn't partake in that. L'kach nemru. That explains why the Torah had to take the trouble to single out that a balmum is entitled to a portion, whether it's Kadosh Kadoshim, V'kach Nemar Kachim Kalim. We have to discuss both. End quote. Let's just focus on that one line. Kadosh Kadoshim had exceptions. So what do we say? Sharei Hutu Lazar V'lahem. Since it was allowed throughout history to a zar, to a non-kohen, perhaps to the balmum as well. Now, who's this elusive zar that we're talking? What do we find that is Lav Moshe? We're assuming it's Moshe Rabbeinu. What is the status of an ordinary person, a zar, and was given the kachei kadashim? Apparently, he was not a kohen gadol. No, Moshe Rabbeinu was a kohen gadol. The Brisa meant that kachei kadashim at times is offered even to a zar. Where? In a bama. When you have a mizbeach, outdoors, where you can bring, an oila, you can bring a mincha, any carbon that's donated can be brought on a bama. And a mincha, of course, is kachei kadashim. Ukedibra oimerish mincha b'bama, going to the shita that you can bring a mincha on a bama. And of course, in a bama, kohen doesn't play a role. Kohen is only for the Beis HaMikdash. If you bring a carbon in a bama, anybody can do it, even a Yisrael. So that's your exception. That's your case where kachei kadashim material can be accessed by a Yisrael, because a Yisrael can eat mincha and a bama. So that's the exception that we're talking about. But of course, when it comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, we certainly agree with Rav that Moshe Rabbeinu had a status of a kohen gadol. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow with Hashem on this topic. In any case, we more presented for us a detailed play-by-play description of what happened in Parsha Shmini after the great tragedy of Nadav Avihu's passing. His brothers became Oinanim, likewise their father. And ultimately, one of the karbanos were burnt, the Tzarish Chodesh. One explanation is because they were Oinanim. They could only eat the special karbanos, not the recurring karbanos, and that's why they burnt it. The other opinion holds that no, they could eat it at least tonight, but the reason why it was burnt was because we happened to become tummy. We had several kashas which were answered. We learned about the timing of Pinchas's appointment to Kahuna and the fact Moshe Rabbeinu had a status of a Kohen Gadol as well. All the best to you and Atzlacha, Rabbi.